Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome you all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. Another Friday is upon us, people. Yes, it is. These weeks are flying by now, which is nice because I feel like we're getting closer to the summer days, people. And we all know that the only downside to the summer days is that they're far too long and there's too much light coming through the window onto the TV when I'm trying to get... It's the only downside of summer, you know. Like, you need blackout curtains or something. My curtains are beige, which are of no help. Well, they do help a little bit, but in the summer I have to close them. If I'm playing during the day, I have to close them so I get proper... Because my TV faces them. So it's almost like a mirror if I don't shut them. So it's been an absolutely glorious day today. The sun's been splitting the trees, people, so it has. And... So there's a sense of spring in the air. There's daffodils and all sorts springing up, or is it tulip? No, it's daffodils, isn't it? Yeah. Tulips are a Dutch thing, aren't they? Anyway, enough about flowers, people. We do have stuff to talk about in the world of gaming, people. Things have happened, and things I want to talk about because they've happened. And, well, you know all this from the title anyway. I don't know why I'm so hush-hush about it at the beginning of these videos, because... I already have put it in the title before I've uploaded it. So we've got a number of things to talk about that have piqued my interest this week, or that I have been on with. I've had a nice week, actually. I've been working away during the day, and I've been doing quite a lot of the gaming at night, people, on the days gone, as you'll have seen from the PS4 shares I've been putting up, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think probably what we'll talk about, we're going to crack straight in, people. There's no hanging about tonight. There is no hanging about tonight. We're going to crack straight in. I'm not going to talk to you about my running or anything. You know, like I start these videos and I end up having a big spraff about anything to do with gaming, anything not to do with gaming for about 20 minutes. And I'm sure like half the people that go on at my videos are probably like, what's this got to do with gaming? Never mind, eh? You know, there's nothing like a bit of drivel to get you going, people. Right, a bit of rambling. So, Ghosts of Tsushima, people. Ghosts of Tsushima, which is... I mean, just recapping slightly, right? Now, Ghosts of Tsushima is being made by Sucker Punch. And Sucker Punch are a PlayStation studio, and they were responsible for making the Infamous games. So, the last game that they made... Well, the last game that they released... was Infamous Second Son, which was a launch title, I think, if I remember rightly. I'm pretty sure it was there at launch. It was a launch title for the PS4. So, they have been working on this game since the beginning of this gen. And that shows you just how much time, effort, sweat, slog and blood goes into developing a new IP. Okay, so, because this is a brand new IP, it looks like it's a... Well, they could be using the Infamous engine. I'm not sure what they used for that. They could be using it, but it looks spectacular. And I'm sure that if they're not using a new engine, they'll be using an engine that's severely overhauled. And I'll tell you what I love about the Sony studios, right? And I've got a lot of this from playing Days Gone as well. Even God of War. I mean, it's like... You get this underlying sense that all of those studios that they own are communicating with each other, helping each other, showing each other how to be better, because you can see it in the games, people. You can see it, and I saw it in the trailer that we'll talk about for Ghost of Tsushima in a minute, and it's all over everything they're doing. The way that they're doing their first party games, the way that the cutscenes are done, the way that the games flow, the way that the game mechanics work to some extent. I mean, the whole thing just drips of those studios having all talked to each other. Horizon Zero Dawn's another one. We know when Hideo Kojima came in and he was going to make Death Stranding, right at the very beginning, before he did anything else, he visited all the studios and decided which of those engines he was going to use. And he used the Horizon Zero Dawn engine to make his Death Stranding game in the end. But it's like, you can just tell that all of those studios are communicating, helping each other. You know, they must have constant days of visiting, you know, maybe like once every couple of months they'll have a get together and talk about this, that, and the next thing, and you can see the influence and the smell of Naughty Dog on just about everything from a Sony studio. You really, really can. I mean, it's without any shadow of a doubt, the influence of Naughty Dog has dripped down into all of those other studios. And I'm sure it's on purpose. I'm sure it's not by chance. Because it is just too clear to see just how good and just how touched by it they are. And, it's a wonderful thing to see. And that might be the thing that for many years to come is still going to keep the Sony exclusives better than the Microsoft exclusives. Because, all right, Microsoft are buying up all these studios and they're doing all these wonderful things, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, and you don't want every game to be the same. You don't, and they're not the same. Every one of these games that I'm talking about from Sony are completely different animals, but you can just get a sense of the way that Naughty Dog has had an influence on those studios and how they do games, and it raised the bar to. But they're all trying to reach that same bar. God of War was Game of the Year. You know what I mean? That's like, as far as I know, none of the old God of Wars were Game of the Year. Maybe maybe the first one was, but back in the day or something. But it was Game of the Year, that, and that wasn't. I mean, it was a new franchise kind of, because it was a whole new engine, it was a whole new concept for the game, a whole new way of playing, a whole new story, a whole new world. Song there somewhere. It's a whole new world. You're welcome. So that's me copyrighted, people. It was so beautiful. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting because much as though you can buy up studios till the dawn, till the end of time, but if they don't grow and become more than they were before, then you're still going to be stuck with what they did before. And do all of those studios that Microsoft bought, have they made AAA titles in the same stratosphere as any of those Sony ones have? I would argue not. And that's not me being harsh or horrible, it's just they are not at that caliber of studio. However, this is where Microsoft needs to work their magic, because they need to be investing the sort of money that's required to make them those kind of studios. And I'll give you an example. The company that made State of Decay, right? State of Decay got really well received. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 or anything, but it got really well received, and there was like, we'd love it if it could do this, we'd love it if it could do that. And so everyone was really excited for State of Decay 2, and these are good games, don't get me wrong, but I'm other than co-op being added to State of Decay 2, that I think people were disappointed that it wasn't more than the previous one was in the way of its graphics, its world, its its mechanics. It was still the same. You still felt like you were playing kind of the same game. And there was no growth to the point of like, well, Microsoft have bought them now, so they've got all this money to be spending making the next one just awesome. They basically just used this, so far as I could tell, they've used the same engines and the same stuff to make the new one. So, you can't take that, and then that's not a AAA game. State of Decay is not a AAA title, in my opinion. So, if they're going to make these studios work, they need to invest the money and the staff and everything that's required to turn them into the same sort of studios that are making their Gears of Wars and their Halos. Not necessarily the same number of staff, but certainly with the same concentration and help and investment. So it's going to be really interesting to see just what they do with these new studios, but doing full circle and going back to Ghosts of Tsushima, yes, watching this new trailer, it's stunning, guys. It is stunning. And Sucker Punch I will be showing this behind me at some point while I ramble. But Sucker Punch have done that last trailer was an awful lot of cutscene, but there was a little bit of gameplay in it. But we've seen the other gameplay stuff before. I may well shove it back in this as well so we can see a bit more of it. I have shown it off before, but maybe we can see a bit of the new one and some of the gameplay stuff from before. It looks incredible, and it looks like there's a huge amount of stealth, obviously. So that's great. because you're a samurai warrior, you want to be sort of, and he's the sort of, the story seems to be suggesting that he dies but comes back, and that's why he's called the Ghost. And he's sort of getting vengeance for the slaughter and death of his people and stuff, the samurai army that he was with, maybe, something like that. So it looks incredible. The more we've seen of this game as it's been drip fed us, the more excited I've got for it. The first time I saw a trailer for it, I was like, oh, that looks nice, and I never got one bit of buzz for it. I just thought, oh, it looks pretty. But every time I've got a trailer since, I've got more and more and more stoked for that game. It looks awesome. The gameplay looks fantastic. The sword play, the stealth play, there's a grapple hook in it. You can see and sense similarities to the gameplay style of Sekiro, but we don't know if that's the case really at the minute. So that's not a bad thing though, to be fair to it. Sekiro has a lot of good in it. I mean, it's a great game. I just couldn't defeat the bosses. I couldn't get my head around it. But we've talked about this. Now that I've played the Star Wars Fallen Order, I think I might understand the concept of how the stamina bar works, how the, sort of timing your ripostes and timing your hits and all that sort of stuff works. So I might give it another go at some point. So if it suffers from anything, it's probably going to suffer from a comparison to Sekiro. But I think that Ghosts of Tsushima will be a lot more accessible than Sekiro was. I think From Software games are always going to suffer in a sales perspective so far as your general easygoing player doesn't want to get involved with those games because they know they're going to be too hard. And so, they sell great. I mean, because the hardcores want it. But I think Ghost of Tsushima will... in my opinion, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I think Ghost of Tsushima may well outsell Sekiro simply because it's got a fantastic, understandable story around it. It's got a mechanic that probably anyone can get into. It probably has an easy, medium, hard mode. It looks graphic in its blood and guts, so it's clearly an 18 by the looks of it. It looks incredible. The acting, the sound, the music, the environment, everything's just stunning. It looks incredible. I'm really excited for that. So it's launching. We finally get a release date with that trailer. It's the 26th of June, is it? Hang on, let me check. It is the 26th of June. Yeah, that's right. 26th of June. And here's another thing, right? When was the last time that you could say, if ever, that Microsoft had two massive exclusives coming out within less than a month of each other? The Last of Us Part 2 comes out on the 29th of May, and that comes out on the 26th of June. It's like, Jesus Christ, that's like... I mean, that's two spectacular first-party titles that can only be played on the PlayStation... Well, I was going to say PlayStation 4, but clearly they will play on the PlayStation 5 because we know... Well, we do know that backwards compatibility is going to be in there for at least the last gen. So... Or this gen, as it is. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. I've been blown away by the first-party titles that Sony have come up with in this gen. I mean, they've been absolutely phenomenal. And Days Gone is no exception. I think, as my son Aaron Brew put it, he said that Days Gone suffered from the company it keeps in the games around it from first party studios and Sony. Because if that had been, if Days Gone had been a Microsoft title, it would have blown everybody out of the water. But because it was sat in between God of War, the upcoming The Last of Us, the Bloodborns, honestly, the amount of exclusives to PlayStation has been absolutely incredible, just stunning stuff. It really has been. And if we're going to see, a similar ilk for next gen, I mean, Microsoft have done everything right to get themselves back in a position where it looks like they're going to have the most powerful console next time because of the Series X. And that's great, and that's where I'll do all my third-party gaming without any shadow of a doubt. But because I just love being on that, for me at the moment, unless the controller for the PS5 is a bit more robust, and the sticks maybe change a little bit because the sticks still bother me on the PlayStation. I just love the controller for the Xbox. We've talked about this before. I would only like the Xbox stick controllers to be the Xbox controller sticks to be slightly shorter. They're a little bit too long for me, but other than that, it's brilliant. And this is why the controller for the Pro controller for the Nintendo is actually the best one, because it meets all of that criteria. Well, it kind of does and it doesn't. It's still got the rubbery thumbnails. Rubbery. Um, Rubbery thumbnails, the rubbery thumbsticks. That's what I meant. But the thumbsticks on the Xbox One controller from day one had this hard sort of plastic on them with a grip that sticks, and you don't find your thumbs and what have you getting sweaty. With the rubber, inevitably it just gets slippy because of the material type that it is, and also gets worn down a little bit. But yeah, they could do with taking note from what Microsoft did with those sticks and making them that sort of material with a bit of grip on them. So yeah, so uberly stoked for Ghost of Tsushima. Really looking forward to that. Can't wait for that to come out. I'm think I'm probably going to get that at launch. I'm really excited for that game, as I will with The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, bear in mind that is that's two massive exclusives coming, dropping about 2 months before we're going to get a PS5 and an Xbox One, Xbox Series X. I'm still not sure about this naming for the Xbox. It's like, I don't know. I think if you're gonna have a series of Xboxes, just call it the Xbox X and the Xbox X, the Xbox S. If that's what you're gonna do, why do we need Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S? I don't understand why the word series is in there at all. You can call it the Xbox Series, but just call it the Xbox X and the Xbox S. Like, just dump the one. Like, I don't get it. I think in the end I'll just call it the Xbox X, because I can't be doing with the series. I keep saying one by mistake. From a marketing perspective, it's throwing people's brains off a little bit. Changing the word one for series, it's not. I'm not a massive fan of it. But the actual console is great. So there you are. So uberly stoked for Ghost of Tsushima, and Sucker Punch themselves. I'm really hoping it gets good reviews because it looks stunning. So yeah, so this week I've been cracking on with Days Gone, and well, you'll have seen from the PS4 shares I've been putting up, and that brought and I've got for anyone that's played, I'll not give any spoilers away, but I've got to there's a point in the game where you can't go back to an area. Like, if you want to push the story on, you can't go back to where you are. So I kind of milked that area last night to try and get as much out of it as I could to get trust level 3 for one of the camps, the last camp actually, the Lost Lake, and that was solely so because you need trust level 3 to be able to buy the best weapons from the seller, and also some of the last bits of the bike. But in the end, I didn't actually need much from the bike other than the saddlebags. So I just wanted to get that, and then I moved on. I've missed a couple of tricks, really. I've missed a trick with the map, because I noticed, actually, only after playing for this long, that when I'm hovering over the map, it's actually showing me all the things that are available to find in certain areas as you move it around. And it just totally passed me by. I've just been oblivious to it while I've been looking on the map to see where I'm going to go. And I've also been a bit oblivious to the question marks that pop up when you're driving around, because I'd run out of quests. And I was like, how the hell am I supposed to get trust level 3 if I can't get trust level points from doing quests? But it's actually the question marks that pop up is basically random events in the world where you go and save somebody. And when you save somebody, you say, oh, there's a camp nearby, go bye-bye. And you get a choice as which camp you're going to send them to, and whichever camp you send them to, you get trust level points. So basically you have to just drive around and wait for the question marks to pop up and then go and save folk. And I would have got it a lot quicker if I'd done a lot more of that. So yeah, so I missed a little bit of a trick there. But it's gorgeous, and I mean, as I said earlier, that game's obviously suffered from the company it keeps in the Sony lineup, but it is terrific, and it's had a lot of patching done since day one as well. It plays gorgeous on the PS4 Pro. It looks stunning, plays great. If anything, there's a little bit of pacing issues, I guess, with the way that the story jumps in and out. There's a few levels where you're forced to walk really slowly in story bits, which is a little bit frustrating. But outside of that, I mean, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, that game. It's so good. Yeah, so I'd be very surprised if we don't see a second one of those. Although I don't know what the end is yet, but I've now moved on to the next area, so I can't go back to where I was. So anyway, I've probably shared as much of that as I'm going to share with you. It was a limited amount of people that are going to want to see me do that sort of stuff, because I'm not talking over it. I'm literally just PS4 sharing it. Which brings me to the fact that it was only, I haven't sat and played a game on the PS4 Pro for ages, and that was the first game that I've sat down and played on it for that length. For ages. I've said it twice now, and so I'd kind of like, with playing on the Xbox One X so long, I'd forgotten how much I was missing the PS4 share, because it's so easy to do that. There's still a little bit of work involved. I've still got I'll record a little bit, like snippets of video, and then I'll piece them together. And then you put little faders in between each bit, put an intro, outro on it, render it, throw it straight up to YouTube. And it's a great way of keeping the channel ticking over if I'm not doing a Let's Play or whatever. And you guys can still see bits of what I'm doing on whatever game I'm playing. And I'm really, it wasn't until I came back and did that with Days Gone that I've suddenly realised just how much I've missed PS4 share. So certainly with the exclusives, I think I'm going to make more of a deal of using it to sort of show off bits of what I'm doing. And hopefully that feature will still be there on the PS5 and we can keep doing that. I'm really hoping, because there is a share button on the new Xbox controller for the Xbox Series X. And the problem with Microsoft are being too inward, because they won't let you share straight to YouTube, because they want you to put it on Mixer, their version of live streaming, or YouTube, or whatever I'm not even sure if it's meant to be for sharing that sort of stuff. But you can't even share, as far as I know, you can't share like really long videos and stuff. Certainly not the sort of lengths you're doing on the PS. I mean, your PS4, I think it's up to it's certainly half an hour or 45 minutes of footage you can put up. And you literally just double click, well, depending on how you got your button set up, but I double click the share button, it starts recording, and I know it will record for 15 minutes. And then I'll do. And if I think I'm getting to 50 minutes, I haven't finished what I was doing, I'll double click it, stop the recording, double click it again, keep going. And then I've got another 50 minutes doing the same thing. I smelt those together. Dead simple. And then they've got Share Factory, which you throw it all in, put it all together, and then push it straight out to YouTube. You can't do that in the Microsoft one. They've got an editor and stuff, but it seems to be very limited as to how much you can capture. Mixer seems to be more for live streaming than it is for capture anyway. But as far as I can find, there isn't any way of sharing straight to YouTube, or there isn't any way of capturing decent length of video on the Xbox, and there isn't any way of posting it straight up to YouTube anyway. I think what the problem might be is, because the original Xbox was so limited in its power, I think they couldn't do what Microsoft that Sony had done with the Share Factory product, and have you editing stuff and recording all that stuff and and rendering it. So I'm hoping that when the Series X comes in, it will be a feature that you can do on there. I think you can save short videos on the Xbox and then put them on a bloody pen drive and then shove it in somewhere and put them on YouTube. But that's not what you want, is it? You want to be able to just shove it straight up. So I'm hoping that Phil Spencer has a little bit of a... Because the more you can... you shouldn't block out YouTube just because you want Mixer to be successful, because you know that a gazillion people are on YouTube and a fraction of that are on Mixer. And Mixer is never going to overtake YouTube, or, well, it probably never overtake Twitch either. So you still got to give people the ability to touch those other products. Otherwise, you're just closing yourself off. How many people have bought a game or bought a PS4 because they've seen PS4 share footage that's just anyone's posted it. Anyone can do it. You don't have to buy the capture device that I've got or the fancy microphone or any of that stuff. You can just do it straight from the console. And there's millions of people just posting PS4 shares up all the time of games. And the money that must generate as free advertising in itself, it's just crazy, especially when you're trying to get that market back to come to your world, as Xbox are. You need to open yourself up to your YouTubes, your Facebooks and your Twitters or whatever. Although I think to be fair, I think PS4 have taken the Facebook stuff off now. It's just Twitter and YouTube. But anyway, I'm hoping they put that in because I've really missed being able to just share on the fly and just fire it straight up without, much of a do. And that way I can keep some regular content going, even if I'm doing something off camera. So yeah, I mean, most of the RPG stuff I'll probably record properly, but there are times when I just think, well, no one wants to see me play all the way through that game, so I'll just keep playing it off camera and I'll throw bits up, which is great. So what else have we got, people? Yeah, well, I was watching. I was watching a series on. I might have mentioned this in another vlog, but I can't remember. I was watching a series on Sky called Warrior, and it was absolutely awesome. It was apparently created by Bruce Lee, but he never got a chance to make it before he died. And they finally made it, and it's made by Bruce Lee Studios, which must have been set up obviously when he was still alive. But it's made by Bruce Lee Studios, and it's basically about the Chinese when they first move over to America, San Francisco, Chinatown. So it's about Chinatown growing and becoming becoming Chinatown effectively. So, and how the Chinese were treated when they came over, and it's just awesome. But the action in it and the music and the vibe and it's just awesome. And I binge watched it over about 2 days, all 12 episodes. If you've not seen it on Sky, it's called Warrior. It is absolutely, the fighting in it is insane, and they don't hold back. The blood and gore is incredible. It's like Jesus. It's a proper 18. And I don't know why it's not had more push, because it is so good. Like, the cast's amazing. The how they've done the sets are amazing. The whole, they're seeing the city, and it's just incredible. Really good. But it gave me this buzz to play Sleeping Dogs again, because the music reminded me of Sleeping Dogs. It's really funky sort of Chinese music that's in it. And the whole sort of gang, martial arts fighting and all that malarkey. I know Sleeping Dogs is set in today's world, but it just was that vibe. And I'd already played the definitive edition on the PS4, but I don't have it for the X. So I thought, I'll go on. I'm going to have a sip. Oh, I didn't say flagons up, did I? Hey, who's in charge? Flagons up to you all. I'm going to have a sip of this. I've been holding it all that time. I didn't even say it. For goodness sake, people. I'm fired. Go. Goot. So anyway, I was looking. I thought I'll just get it. I'll get it on the store. I'll go to the Xbox store. I went to the Xbox store. It was like £25. I was like, piss off. I'm not paying £25 for a game that's like 7 years old. Come on now. It's probably more than that, because it was a last gen game anyway. It was redone, wasn't it, for this gen? Anyway, so I kept looking around. I eventually found it on eBay for $13.99 new, and ordered it, and it came through. And I thought, wait, it feels a bit heavy. Why is it so heavy? In the packet it comes in. Anyway, when I opened it, it was in. I thought, oh, it must be a steel case or something, but it's actually an art book case. It's really nice, actually. It's a lovely sort of metallic cover. I hope they bring this back. The side of the Xbox cases are horrible. Like they've got that plastic trim, and then Xbox One's just in like silver writing or something. They need to get this tab back like the PS4s have, and like the Xbox 360 had. So hopefully the new ones will have this on the actual box. But yeah, so it comes with this art book, and I think that I've got another one of these, Tomb Raider, I think it is, somewhere down here. Loads of art style and stuff in it, but I'm not going to be able to show you it properly, but it's got loads of artwork in it from the game, showing off loads of different bits. It's a really thick little book, loads of art style stuff, and then the discs at the back. So, but yeah, I was really chuffed with that. I thought, oh, bloody hell. The only thing is that it can you believe that they've put on the actual art, they've put a sticker. I didn't notice that before. They've put a Microsoft sticker there. Why would you? It's like, why wouldn't you just stick it on the plastic? It's like a barcode or something. God knows what that's for. Anyway, maybe one of you knows and you can scan it. Oh, there's little stuff in here as well. Little tokens of... hadn't actually looked. God, can you believe there's actually a thief? It's a thief. God, I've not heard anyone talk about the Thief game for a while. Bloody hellfire. It's actually Thief DLC. It's another game I didn't finish. There's a shocker. Thief, that is, not Sleeping Dogs. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to firing that onto the Xbox One at some point. But I want to get. It's a beautiful little book. That it's brilliant. Very nice indeed. Same on the back. No, it's quite thick. Anyway, I might at some point get a little collection of them together. I don't know if the. I'm going to go off camera. This is a bit offshoot, people. Hang on. I'm going to see if the Tomb Raider one. Here we go. I'm back. So this was the Tomb Raider one, which I showed off, I think, back when I got the PS4 Pro because it was Pro enhanced. I'm just curious if it's the same size. It's a tiny bit taller. Tiny bit taller. But in theory, if you had a collection of those, you could have them, you know, in between some nice bookends, some gaming bookends of some description on a shelf somewhere and really show them off. Because they're really nice. And they were, you know, you can pick them up and read them effectively, just like a book, but just looking at the artwork. Because the Tomb Raider one had similar arty type stuff in it. So yeah, super stoked with that. Yeah, really chuffed. It was a little bit of a surprise, people. I hate these ones where they slide in though. It's like the Microsoft one's got that, slides in and out that way. It's a bit nicer. That. So there you are. I'm super stoked with that. I'm gonna get into that at some point. I'm determined to get Days Gone finished though. That's my priority at the moment. And then I've got Judgment to play, which I bought a number of weeks back, which is it's set in the world of Yakuza. And that was also another thing where I was thinking I wouldn't mind getting back into that sort of Sleeping Dogs vibe. And Aaron Brew was telling me that those Yakuza games are probably the closest thing to them. So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting into... I haven't played any of the Yakuza games. Judgment will be my first one, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that. The Judgment was a little bit different so far as it was more... I think you're like a private eye or something, or a cop, and you've got to investigate crimes along with being in that world in Japan, wherever you are. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. I don't know. There's a high likelihood I might actually throw Sleeping Dogs on first. It's gone super dark outside all of a sudden. It was really sunny when I started this video. What else did we have, people? Was there anything else? Sleeping Dogs were talked about. Oh, well, yes, there is one more thing, which is kind of gaming related. So there was news yesterday of The Last of Us TV series coming from HBO. Now, I'm kind of like... I was always a bit ominous about a movie about The Last of Us because I don't think a movie is ever going to match the magic that they caught in that story for a number of reasons. And I think one of those reasons is, well, firstly, you've got to get the casting right. Joel's got to be... Well, if Joel's in it. We know Ellie's in it. I'm sure Joel must be in it. If you've got Joel and Ellie in it, you've got to get your casting right so that we're not feeling like we're a million miles away from where we were. A bit like Geralt when they've done the Witcher series. I was ominous about that, but he's done a great job. I mean, I do feel like I'm watching Geralt when I watch that show. It is his own spin on it, but he got enough of the quirks of the character, like the sighing and the grunting and stuff. Other than the eyes not being cat eyes, I don't know what that decision process was all about, but it does, when you watch that show, you feel like you're watching The Witcher that we know. So they need to get the casting right. So Joel and Ellie have got to be bob on. So as long as they get that right, the other great news is that Neil Druckmann is actually writing it with the guy who wrote Chernobyl and other such things. So with Neil Druckmann actually writing the scripts, you've got to be on a winner, because he's going to bring what he feels like he wants to do with that world over to a series. With a film, you're so restricted with time. If you think about the length of time that journey is over in the first game, it's a long time. Like, it's a whole year, isn't it? Certainly, yeah, because you do spring, winter, autumn, blah, summer, blah, don't you? So I'm sure it's a whole year. That journey is over, or thereabouts. So it was a long time bringing that relationship together. In a film, you struggle to get that concept of time in a film. However, with a TV series, you can let things you know, you can let things sort of expand. You can take your time with them. You can show the level of, you know, you can show the time frame better when you're going over hours and hours of episodes. So I'm hoping also that they don't make it a 26 episode jobber like The Walking Dead. Just do a nice, neat 12, you know, awesome parts. Like Game of Thrones. I think HBO did Game of Thrones, didn't they? And they limited that to sort of 10 episodes, wasn't it? Or 12. Or in fact, the last series was even less. So if they can get that down to a nice, neat little package, then there's a whole... Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite excited. Now that I know Neil Druckmann's writing the scripts and that it's a TV series, I'm actually more excited about it than I was hearing about it being a movie. I'm really not sure about the whole Uncharted movie thing. I'm not a fan of Mark Wahlberg. I'm sure he's a very nice man, but I just don't understand why he's in all these films. Every film he's in seems to not do well, so why is he constantly in films? It's like what's going on, people? He just seems to be in never-ending films, and I don't understand why. Anyway, Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully and Tom Holland is playing Nathan Drake. So with Tom Holland looking about 12 years old anyway, you've got to assume that they're going to the early days of Nathan Drake, which is, to be fair, I don't have a problem with Tom Holland, to be fair, because I think he actually looks like he could do a really good young Nathan Drake, actually. I think that would work quite well. It's just... the whole Mark Wahlberg thing. I mean, maybe you'll prove me wrong, but I could have taken just about anyone else. I just don't get it, and I'm sorry, Mr. Wahlberg, if you end up on my video. I'm sure you're a very nice person, but I don't connect with that at all. I don't understand it. I'm trying to think of one film I've watched of him in it where he's been the main dude. And I've thought I'll watch that again. There isn't one, so you know, I've not mind you that said, I've not seen. I'm trying to think what the last film I've watched with him in was. I think there was a comedy which I didn't mind actually. It was quite funny actually. And it wasn't a comedy. It was a crime thing where there were two guys were supposed to be sort of working for they're like drug mules or something. It was him and... Was it Denzel Washington? I think it was him and Denzel Washington. It was something like that. It wasn't bad. There was some funny bits in it. Maybe I'm being too hard on the man. But he certainly doesn't strike me as the Sully that we know from the game is the problem. I can see Tom Holland as a young Nathan Drake. I just can't see anything about Sully in Mark Wahlberg. So, anyway... We'll see what comes of it, but I'm actually quite excited about the Last of Us TV series now that I know that Neil Druckmann's involved, and it's over a TV series instead of a film. I nearly forgot what I was going to say there, people. But anyway, I'm rambling. Should we get on with it and close the show off? I think that's all we had. Yes, Last of Us TV show was the last thing. So there you are. I've still managed to talk for the best part of 40 minutes, people. So. It does seem to be a common factor in my life. I seem to be able to talk to myself for a very, very long time into a camera. Now that I'm used to it. It was quite funny showing off at some point, was it Vlog 100 or something? I can't remember, but I showed off one of my but I think it was my introduction vlog for when I first started the channel properly. And oh my God, it was like so self-conscious of talking into a camera and like awkward. It's amazing how comfortable you get with it if you just keep doing it, you know. Anyway, I've yet to try reading an autocue or anything because I'm not the best reader in the world. But to actually read into something like you're reading the news, that's a whole different art form. That we don't need that with this, people. We'll just have me rambling, drinking beer, shall we? That's fine. That's all we want. There you are, people. That's all I have to talk about. I can't believe how super dark it's gone outside. Is it because it's night or is it because it's really rainy and I've just not spotted it? Flaggins up to you all once again. I can't believe I forgot to say it at the beginning, even though I was sat here with it, holding it here. It's so nice. Go and get yourself one. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this vlog of mine, and I shall see you all in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.